What's up, everybody? Friday. Ron Harris here, MD Online editor, and this is something I felt the need to talk about since last Saturday when the controversial results of the Mr. Olympia were announced. And I say controversial because we had two amazing champions up there, both more than worthy of winning. Somebody had to win, somebody had to lose, and we'll get into that later. Actually, I'm going to go to Tyler Mannion explaining why the decision went toward Derek later. But let's start with there was a lot of talk from the Hadi fans who were outraged, and they started throwing the racism word around. And I actually want to title this video, "There's no racism in bodybuilding judging," or something like that. Something with racist to racism. But after conferring with Jen at MD, it's a very volatile title to have. YouTube does often strike channels for having that in there. There's certain words you can't have in your titles, like you can't have porn, you can't have sex, just things that you can't even have in your titles. And also, I'm well aware, first of all, that as a white man, it's I've never experienced racism, so I'm not speaking out in that with any authority on that matter. I'm not talking about what's racism and is there racism. That's not what we're talking about. I just want to argue the point that in judging, bodybuilding judging, pro bodybuilding, and even at the highest levels, the Arnold Classic, the Mr. Olympia contest, it's colorblind. I'm gonna put up a video here showing all the past Mr. Olympia winners. It's not my video, but I thought it was pretty cool. Just something to have in the background while we're talking. So I hit pause on that, hit play, and there we go. Okay, so here we go. So we've had people of all different races, except Asian. We haven't had an Asian Mr. Olympia winner. There were no accusations of the judges being favored toward white guys or Christians or Americans. The past few years, we had Big Ramy, Mamdou Elsbié, 2020 and 2021. He was the Mr. Olympia champion from Egypt, very far away from the United States. He does speak some English. He's a devout Muslim. Doesn't matter. We're looking at physiques up there. We're not looking at the language you speak, the country you're from, whatever God you pray to or don't pray to, things like even your sexual preference. None of that should matter. We're purely looking at physiques, judging them up against other physiques, and I don't believe that the judges are influenced. Now, back in the day, for many, many years, bodybuilding did have, I hate to say a black eye. Bodybuilding was heavily influenced by racism in the earliest decades, especially. AAU, which was a rival organization to the IFBB for many years. If you guys saw the movie Bigger, it was the Joe Weider biopic. And it showed a lot of the focus was on his competition, his battles with a guy named Bob Hoffman, who had a magazine called Strength and Health that was the big rival for the Weider magazines. He had York Barbell, which was the big rival for Joe's equipment company, the Weider Equipment. And even the supplements, they had rival supplement brands. So AAU was well known to be unfavorable toward any bodybuilder who wasn't quote unquote white. Different people can define white in their own ways, whatever that even means anymore. Guys like Chris Dickerson could not win the Mr. America until 1970. For years and years, the African American guys on stage were the best bodybuilders, but they were not being given the title. And that even happened in the Olympia. I remember seeing pictures, Larry Scott, great champion, but there was a guy named Harold Poole who was very, very good. Probably should have beaten him the first year. We saw things like that 72 Olympia where Arnold beat Sergio Oliva. And the excuse was that Sergio's dark skin blended into the black backdrop of the curtain. So I believe there were a lot of racially motivated decisions back in the day. And I also believe that tied into their marketing because these company, the Mr. Olympia was promoted by a company that sold magazines, they sold equipment, they sold supplements. So it was all about marketability. Would they sell more supplements, magazines, and equipment with a white guy on the picture or the ad than a black guy in America at that time? Absolutely. So I believe it was tied into that. Things are much, much more fair and impartial now. We do not see that anymore. We don't see people being chosen because they're more marketable, because the Olympia is a separate entity now. It's owned by Jake Woods, promoted by Dan Solomon. It's not tied into any one supplement company, magazine. There are no print magazines. Muscular Development's the last one, although I did see Muscle and Fitness is going to start doing like quarterlies. They were giving them away at the Olympia. But the point being is that I believe there were many, many cases in the past where you could easily say that this African-American bodybuilder or black bodybuilder was the better bodybuilder on that day, but he was not awarded the title because of racism. And I don't see it happening that way anymore. I don't see favoritism being given toward athletes just because they happen to be lighter skinned. And even if you go by the nationality thing, the world has become a much smaller place, especially now that we have social media. You know, it really is just one big global community, bodybuilding. When you go to the Olympia, you walk around, you'll hear all languages being spoken. You'll see people every shade, people from every different country. It's just a worldwide family of bodybuilders. It's not the way it used to be. I did want to get into this Tyler Mannion thing because I know a lot of people are still harping on why did Derek beat Hadi? And I was waiting for Tyler Mannion, who is the vice president of both the IFBB Pro League and the NPC, and he's a head judge at many pro shows. He was a judge, not the head judge at this last Mr. Olympia last weekend. And he's going to break it down for you. I'm just going to get through all these Olympia champs. We're looking at Ronnie Coleman. So Jay Cutler, who last Olympia win was in 2010. That was the last time the Olympia title was held by a quote unquote white guy. Ever since then, it's been, we've had Dexter, we've had Phil Heath for many years, Sean Roden, who went after Sean? Brandon Curry, Big Ramy, Hadi Choopan. So I think you'll see it's been quite an eclectic mix of excellent bodybuilders that have won this title. I'm just going to let this run to the end of the Mr. Olympias, and then I want to get to Tyler because I was starting to listen to it. It's actually a good breakdown. I know people that are dead set on believing that Hadi was a legitimate winner and he was robbed. They don't even want to listen to this, but I think it's valuable for us to listen to what Tyler had to say because he does break it down. So we're getting to 2014, Phil Heath. Yeah, Phil had some battles with Kai Green. Let me tell you, those were awesome battles. I wish Kai would compete again, but I don't see that happening. Phil Heath, they're showing every year that he won. 2017 coming up next would be the last year that he won. Oh, that was it. Okay, so let's take this. Stop the screen. Okay, now I want to go to Tyler, and I want to play Tyler's explanation. So here we go. Oh. Share screen.
Today we're going to do a recap of the Mr. Olympia. This will be about the open division. I'm going to review Derek and Hadi, obviously because it was a very close show between those two. I'm going to go pose by pose in detail and in depth into what we saw at the table. Then I'll also cover third, fourth, and fifth place, Samson, Brandon, and Andrew, and what they need to work on going forward to be competitive with these top two and, to come back. And obviously they all want to win the title of Mr. Olympia next year. But before I get into the breakdown, I want to dispel a certain notion that I always hear and keep hearing about, and it's the common expression of to beat the champ, you have to knock him out. Now, it doesn't matter whether we're talking about open or any other division. And that is just a statement that I personally do not agree with. Okay. How we all judge at the table. It doesn't matter if you have 8 titles. It doesn't matter if you have 0 titles. The best person on that day, the person that we think best fits the criteria is who we're going to put in first place. It doesn't matter what their past history is. That is not taken into account when we're looking. We're looking at what's on stage in front of us that day, and that's all that matters. So that common expression, to beat the champ, you have to knock him out. Throw that out the window. That is not used at all while any of our judges are judging shows and we're at the table. So the first pose up is the front double bicep pose. As you see here with Derek improved his arms from last year. He improved his legs from last year. His quads, the overall density and sweep to his quads came up dramatically from last year. All you have to do is go look at pictures or videos of Derek from last year to Derek from this year. Derek has a crazy, crazy taper with crazy wide flaring lats, all down into a very small waistline. His arms flow very proportionally with his body, and his legs now have much more balance compared to his upper body. Now we look at Hadi's front double bicep pose. His arms flow pretty well into his physique, although I would argue here that Derek's arms flow better with his pose. Hadi has a very good taper, but next to Derek's taper, it is not as prominent. Hadi's waist is wider, and his lats are not as wide as Derek's. Then we move down to the lower body. Hadi still has strong quads. Yes, they're also in good condition as well. However, Hadi has an imbalance between his left and right quads. His sweep on his left side is more pronounced than his sweep on his right side. That is symmetry. So that is an imbalance, and we take that into account as well. Next up is the front lat spread pose. So as you see, Derek brought his arms and shoulders, not only the size, but also the detail for his arms and shoulders up from last year. Okay, we're still looking at every single body part in this pose. I've already covered the lower body between Derek and Hadi's quads, so we know what's going on with the lower body. In the upper body in this pose, they both have very wide lats, again, that flow down into nice tight waists. However, when you look at the V taper here, you see Derek does still have a better V taper than Hadi. However, when you go up into the fullness and detail of the chest, Hadi still has an advantage there. Hadi still has a nice V taper overall, even though there is the imbalance in the legs. You know, the size is comparable, even if Derek's are just a little bit bigger now. But overall, also with the midsection and even with the waist, you know, partially sucked up, partially vacuumed, right? The detail all throughout Hadi's core and his chest still gives him the edge in this pose. As you can see in this real close-up video and what we were seeing from the table, Derek took a pose that is not his strongest and made gains on it. However, this is still a pose that goes to Hadi. So now it's 1-to-1. Hadi takes the front lat spread. Next up, we have the side chest pose. Now, again, as I explained in the criteria video, we're looking at everything here in the side chest pose. We want to look at the width from shoulder to shoulder up top. We're looking at the details in the size of the arms and the shoulders and how they flow. Okay, your waist needs to be in tight. We're obviously looking at the side leg here, okay, for the lower body. And, of course, we're looking at the chest. We're looking at how thick it is, how detailed it is, okay? So now when we take this pose and compare Derek and Hadi, Derek improved this pose tremendously from last year. You can see all the new tissue in this pose that he added to his chest. You can also see striations. He actually has striations on the inside of his chest here, the backpack, and you can see the thickness in his chest now. Then you look at the density and detail that he added to his arms and shoulders from the outside. This improved a lot from last year. Then we go down to his lower body and his side leg. His side leg was crazy detailed and crazy dense and bigger than last year. So when we compare this to Hadi, Hadi has a very striated chest. So chest alone, yes, Hadi's chest is better than Derek's. Both their midsections are partially hidden here, but they both have them in tight. So this isn't a pose where you see Hadi's crazy detailed serratus come into play here. Through the shoulders up top, Derek is wider than Hadi. Derek also has a little bit more detail in his shoulder than Hadi's shoulder. Hadi's shoulders are not striated. They are not striated and show the same detail as his chest or his abdomen does. Hadi's arms and shoulders flow, and the details in them are, in my opinion, not as good as Derek's in this pose. Then we go down to the lower body, and Derek's side leg is a good bit better than Hadi's side leg now. It is definitely bigger, and you can definitely see more details in Derek's side leg than you can see in Hadi's. This turned from a weak pose for Derek that last year, in my opinion, I had Hadi winning this pose over Derek. This year, I thought it was clear that Derek took this pose. So as of right now, the poses are 2-to-1 with Derek taking the side chest this year. Next up is the back double bicep pose. I think this is the clearest pose out of all poses that Derek wins this hands down, as he has right now by far the best back double bicep in the whole entire IFBB Pro League. What makes Derek's back double bicep so strong? As you see, and as I've talked about earlier, he has added more to his arms and shoulders, especially from the outside, which is the part of the arm we're seeing here. We see the clear separation and the clear definition of his bicep, his tricep, and his shoulders. they flow very well into the most dense and widest back that we have in the pro league right now. Then we move to his lower body. He has insane detail from the glutes all the way down. His hamstrings and his legs from the back not only increased in the detail that we're seeing, but they also increased in the leg width. So the amount of space that his legs take up on stage, that has increased as well. This is an extremely dominant pose here for him against Hadi. Now, Hadi still has a solid back double bicep. However, his back is not as deep and as dense as Derek's here. His shoulders are not showing as much detail, and his legs are not taking up as much space in leg width, and they also are not showing as much detail throughout the hamstring from the back of the leg. So this pose goes to Derek. The score is now 3 poses to 1 pose, with Derek taking this back double bicep. Next up is the back lat spread pose. We've already covered in the last pose that lower body and legs in the pose, Derek is ahead of Hadi for the reasons I stated with detail and width. Now, when you look at the back here, Derek's back lat spread is still a very, very strong pose for him. Again, he is very wide, and you can see a lot of depth and density to his back in the details when he is hitting the lat spread. All of it comes down into a nice small waist. His rear delts flow nicely right into his back. Everything about this pose is very, very strong. Hadi also has a very strong back lat spread. Now, Hadi shows great width when he hits this back lat spread pose. However, you can see he doesn't have the same density and depth to the back as Derek does here, as it looks just a little bit flatter than Derek's does. Then when you combine that with Derek taking the lower body and lower half of this pose goes to Derek, which now makes it Derek 4 poses, Hadi 1 pose, with Derek taking the back lat spread. Next up is the side tricep pose. We're looking for the width from shoulder to shoulder. We're still looking at the chest thickness. We're looking at a nice tight waist, the details through the abs. We're looking at the arm, the shoulder. Obviously, we want to see the tricep, how big and how defined your tricep is. Then, after we get below the waist, we're looking at the side leg again. So in the side tricep pose, this is a very close pose. Some can argue this might be the most important pose between these two and how different judges looked at the show. So here from the side tricep, when you look at width from shoulder to shoulder, Derek is wider than Hadi. Now, again, you can see the new tissue Derek added to his chest here. He has chest thickness here. Just as much thickness as Hadi does. However, Hadi has more striations and details through the chest. Now, when you look at the waist, they both flow into a nice tight waist. However, Hadi has details throughout his serratus and abs that are more detailed than Derek's. However, you can see Derek's abs very clearly here as well. Now, when you move into the arm and the shoulder part of the pose, Derek has a better flow from his shoulders to his arms and bigger triceps and arms than Hadi does in this pose. Then we go into the lower body, and Derek's side leg is a good bit bigger and more detailed, like I covered before in the side chest. That is better than Hadi's side leg. So when you take everything into account here and look at how we look at this overall pose, Derek wins the side tricep because he is superior in more phases of this pose than Hadi. Hadi has more detail to his chest and more detail through his abdomen, but when it comes to the width through the top in this pose, the arm definition and size, and the side leg, Derek takes all those facets. So for me, Derek edges out this pose and puts the score now at 5 poses to 1 pose. Derek is leading. Hi, everyone. Tyler Mannion here, NPC Worldwide and IFBB Pro League Vice President.
Okay, I think that's enough. Yeah, I mean, he went through most of the poses. Didn't finish them off. I think it just stopped. Anyway, I don't want to go through the whole, I'm just stealing Tyler Mannion's Instagram, but I do want to commend him. You can talk crap about him all you want, but at least he is going on Instagram and trying to explain himself and the judges and the criteria. In the past, there was nothing like that. There was zero accountability. If you didn't like a decision, you never heard from the judge. Judges did not back up their decisions. They didn't defend them. You just had to accept it. And if you didn't like it, tough titty. That's just the way it was for many, many years. So I applaud Tyler for being accessible and transparent and doing these Instagram posts, explaining it on YouTube, explaining why they place people the way they did. And you don't have to agree with him, but at least he's trying to explain what the thought process was, why they made these very, very difficult decisions. All right, let's go to the phones. Okay. Mariam says, do not give visas to rude and ungrateful people. To travel to America, you must speak English. Well, I mean, I only speak English and half-ass Spanish. So by that rationale, I shouldn't be allowed to go to any countries that speak other languages. And I certainly can if I want to. So I don't agree with that. I don't think you should have to speak English to get a visa. It was a work visa. He was here as an employee of Evogen Nutrition, representing the brand, creating some content, competing, representing the company. He had a legitimate work visa to be here. No, so I don't agree with that. I mean, I don't think Hadi should have his visa denied. Okay, so the lat controversy. Let's see if I can find that. Let's see if I can find some. Let me see if I can find a video on that. So I'm sure someone's done a video and has zeroed in on his lats. And, I don't know what the hell happened with his lats there. Right? Derek Lunsford lats. See what comes up. History is made behind the scenes, prejudging. Well, I guess it doesn't. Okay, I don't see it. But point being, yeah, he had a couple of very apparent lumps, and they were symmetrical. What they were matching. So Nick Trigilli, Bodybuilding BS, who's no longer on YouTube, but still very active on Instagram, he pointed out it was probably just injecting too close to the lymph nodes, which we have. I think we have lymph glands here under your jaw, and you have them here under your armpit. So it was like an inflammation thing. But he didn't mention that. But, at the same time, it's going to come up later. Hadi still has some funky shapes to his delts. It wasn't as bad at all, as it was a couple of years ago. I think it was 2020 he came out, or was it 21? And his shoulders were just lumpy and square. They were very, very suspicious. Clearly, there was a lot of oil in there. I'm not saying it was steroids or synthol. I don't know what it was. There was something in there that was altering the natural shape of the shoulders. They did not look like a human shoulder. He did fix that for the most part. I did see some screenshots people took. Someone was posting them on the Daily Pump Pics thread on the Muscular Development No Bull forum the other day. And from certain angles, you still see some like squared off angles to his shoulders. But like I said, fans of one guy will often really harp on anything any flaws or anything that they can catch on the guy that beat their favorite, while they will totally ignore anything that you could point out might have been suspicious or lacking in their guy. That's just the nature of fandom. So I understand it. So Raymond's a very frequent contributor on these live chats. Easy for Hadi fans to think politics was involved when you hear a chants of USA from the crowd after Derek won. Well, I mean, we were. I think it's okay to be proud of your country, whatever country you live in, whatever country you're from. And if contest was in Iran, I would fully expect them to shout Iran or whatever and wave Iranian flags. National pride. That's okay. You should be proud of where you're from. You should be proud of your country. So that wasn't the judges saying that. It's not like the judges were influenced by thinking, we got to make the crowd happy. No, they didn't care because Hadi won last year, and Big Ramy won the last 2 years before that. So 3 years in a row, we had people from outside the USA winning. And that was actually the first time in a while, because prior to that, the last winner from outside the US we had, I believe, was Dorian, right? Because after Dorian, it was Ronnie. Yeah, and after Ronnie, we had Jay, Dexter, Phil, Sean. Yeah, that was it. So I don't think it doesn't take a crown to be a real Olympia champion. Well, I agree, Victor, because I would. It does take the title. You can't call yourself Mr. Olympia, but I would argue that Flex Wheeler, Kevin Levrone, Sean Ray, Kai Green, they were every bit as deserving as a Mr. Olympia title as the men who were beating them for the Mr. Olympia title, but they never got the title. But I don't think that takes away from their reputation, from their legacy. They're all legends. Derek made improvements, but it's not an improvement competition. The best physique should win. I agree. I mean, Tyler gave his reasoning for why he felt they had to choose Derek over Hadi. And I honestly, I keep saying this, and people get mad because they think I'm just being politically correct. But I didn't see a clear winner. I did not. I would have been very happy if Hadi had won. I'm happy that Derek won. I could have seen it gone either way. It was extremely close, but you can't have ties in bodybuilding. And of course, the Hadi fans, they're very upset that the decision didn't go his way. But like Bob Ciccarello, I just watched his recap video where he was talking about some similar things to what we're talking about right now. He said, you didn't hear a lot of boos when Hadi lost. You didn't. You really didn't. And I can recall Olympias I've been to where there were a lot of boos. 2007, when Victor Martinez got beat by Jay Cutler, a lot of boos. When Jay beat Phil in 2010, half the crowd not only booed, they got up and walked out immediately. Didn't wait for the pictures, the acceptance speech, nothing. They just hauled ass out of the theater it was at the Orleans that time, right? Yeah. So it seems like most of the backlash came from the fans who weren't at the show. But even so, you could argue it either way. You really could. And one guy had to win and one guy had to lose. Now you're talking shit. You call him Lunsford. Awful, awful, awful. Well, let me get rid of that. Oh boy, I gotta tune these out a little bit better. Tyler South, your favorite Looney Tunes character. Yeah, so this is exactly what I was saying. If you're gonna pick apart suspicious aspects to one guy's physique, you can't ignore something about the other guy's physique. And like I said, Hadi's delts do not look anywhere near as bad. It's not as obvious. And like I said, I think he's just, you got to put the oil somewhere when you're injected. Those of you who use gear, and if any of you have run substantial cycles with, if you're using, and I'm not saying this is what the guys use, I always have to preempt that. If you're using, say, if you're shooting 10 mLs of oil or 10 to 20 mLs, so, a standard syringe is 3 mLs. If you're shooting a bunch of those a week, where are you going to put everything? You can't put it all in your glutes because then you're going to get these huge lumps on the outside of your glutes that you can see from the front, which I used to have those because I was putting everything in my glutes. You have to rotate. Delt, glute. A lot of guys go quad. Quads are not a great idea because there's a lot of nerve endings there. It's very easy to get hit a nerve. It's very easy to get an infection for some reason. I've never hit my quads again. I did it a few times in my life, and most of the times it ended badly. So lats is another place guys put their gear. You got to put it somewhere. It's not like you can put it into your eyeball. Looney Tunes characters. Raymond Jones, hello. Hadi shoulders bad a few years ago. Mark says, Hadi shoulders were bad a few years ago. We fixed it. Yeah, I agree. Now we're talking about how bad Samson is. Samson was symmetric. The height, please. He was a water balloon. Terrible condition. 3. I was not happy with Samson's condition either. I would have loved to see Samson just shredded and dry. So if he's 300 pounds at the Olympia, I don't know, maybe like go down to 290. So he's competing Sunday over at the Romania Muscle Fest. I wonder if he's going to be tighter because at that point he'll have had 2 weeks to continue dieting and getting sharper. So I wonder if we're going to see improved condition because he's going up against Nathan DeAsha and Behruz Tabani, also Andrea Presti. But those are the two main guys he's got to look out for. Is definitely Nathan DeAsha and Behruz Tabani. Behruz, who could not get into the USA, he couldn't get a visa, but he got a visa to go to Romania, so it's all good. So let's wish him the best. Sack him. Let's see. Someone's saying this to fire Tyler. Well, that's not gonna happen, guys. Talking there were only 2 competitors with the the top 3 would never place. I don't know about that. So, Lewis, like, who do you feel definitely deserved to beat all 3 of the guys in the top 3? Who outside of top 3 rightly deserved to beat Hadi, Derek, and Samson? I'm being dead serious. I want to know who you felt was deserving of that. Because if you say Andrew Jack or Brandon Curry, Brandon's legs were a liability. Andrew still needs more hamstrings, more glutes, more back. He's not quite there yet. So I love his physique. I still think he's a work in progress. Okay, dude ran off stage like a little baby. Nah, not exactly. That's what I want. I want to go over that too. I want to see because I think there's been some confusion as to how it actually went down. So let's take a look, shall we? So that's only 43 seconds long. I don't want to go to that. Okay, so this is how long? This one, 3 minutes. Okay, so let's go to this one. Present your screen. Okay, so there's Derek winning. What happens next? Hadi's clapping for him. Derek goes down. He's very happy. So, yeah, Hadi comes up, congratulates him, hugs him. Fair play. Good call there. Yeah, I mean, I hope people didn't think I was one of the people that said he ran off stage like immediately. No. He stuck around for a little while. So there's the big fake check, the big novelty check for $400,000. That's Tyler talking to Derek. Jay Cutler and Dan Solomon over with Hadi. Dan holds his hand up. I don't know what they're saying. Jake Woods there. He's about 8 feet tall, a very tall man, the owner of the Olympia. So this is everybody together after the awards. That's Tyler shaking Brandon's hand. So now Derek is getting his giant medal. Those things weigh about 10 pounds. I've held them. They're very, very heavy. Yeah, some guys are bringing theirs to the banquet after. Okay, so now he takes the picture with everybody, holding up the hands. So he does get that one group picture of, the top brass and the top 5 athletes. And at that point, he's done. He doesn't want to take any group pictures with just the athletes. Bob Chick said, I'm not coming back, something like that, broken English. I don't speak any Farsi, so I credit Hadi for speaking any English. So he didn't run off stage like a little baby. He congratulated Derek one more time. Is this still going on? Yeah, with him. He had taken his medal off. Camera needs to pull out so I can see what the hell's going on. So yeah, he stuck around he's still there. So he hung around for quite a while, just not long enough to get any group pictures because clearly he was overcome with emotions. He was very, very, very much expecting to win, hoping to win, and it just didn't happen. And Derek there, you can see Derek's looking for Hadi. He's like, where'd Hadi go? I want to hold his hand. Okay, no, here we go. Okay, so I was dead wrong. We got one picture. He did take one group picture. Okay, so I guess all of us are guilty. I'm guilty of exaggerating. He did take that one group picture with the double bicep of all 5 of them. Then he took off. So it's not like he immediately ran off. He stayed for quite a while. Now that we look at it, it's clear to see. Yeah, okay. So stop screen. Okay, so yeah, he did not run off stage. He stuck around almost as long as they wanted him to. They really just wanted like one more picture of them all doing most muscular. So clearly, I actually got a private message from Hadi when I was just posting up stories with IG stories with the link to watch YouTube videos about our Olympia breakdown. And all he sent me, it wasn't no text in it, was 4 broken heart emojis in a row. The heart broken in half. So he clearly was just expressing his mourning. He's very upset. And I don't blame him. He had the best title you could ever hope for in bodybuilding. He's representing his country. He's got a family, and then all of a sudden it was gone. Yeah, it sounded like. I'll tell you where I don't like the format of saying this guy won this many poses and this guy won that many, because that's not exactly how you score the on the score sheets. They don't have like a breakdown of each pose or anything. It's just a total. You have to decide by looking at the guys in all 7 mandatory poses. The judges have to do their best to decide this guy had the best total package in all the poses. This guy had the second best, third best, on down the line. I like Hadi's arms better in the front double bicep. I like his chest better in the most muscular with all those crazy striations. It's a thicker chest. It's more detailed. He does have, I still think his quads are a little better than Derek's for sure. Derek did have him in the back. Derek had him in condition from the back. Hadi, he's got a better structure and a smaller waist. He had more of a V taper. I would not have been able, if you had put a gun to my head and said, you got to pick one, I guess I would have had to pick one, but I could not figure out who was going to win. I couldn't even decide. And I've been to almost every Olympus since 1991. My first one was in Orlando in 1991. It was Lee Haney's 8th and last Olympia. I could not figure out what to do with Hadi and Derek. I was thinking if I was a judge, I'd be like biting my nails down to blood right now because I don't know what the hell to do. Because either way, you're going to get blasted. Although I think if Derek had lost, I don't think too many of Derek's fans would have been as angry, as outraged, and doing things like making threats and shutting. They wouldn't have shut Hadi's Instagram page down. I don't think Derek's fans would have done that. But the Hadi fans, clearly more passionate, just more, I don't know. No calves full of oil and 5'4". Well, neither one of them is that short. Or are you talking about Hadi? Or I don't know who you mean, Kent. Which one? They're both, I think Hadi's a little shorter. I think Hadi might be 5'5". Derek's about 5'6". They're both around that height. Classless. Well, I mean, the Beast Kane. Upon further review of that, when we watched Hadi, maybe I should put that on again. Maybe I should put it on again, just for the heck of it. Well, we have something to look at while we're talking. I'm gonna start that over. Okay, so present, share screen. There we go. Yeah, we're looking at it one more time, just to have something to talk about. I like to have stuff running in the background. So Hadi stuck around for almost everything that they wanted him to. And, people were pointing out that it's the first time a Mr. Olympia has ever walked off. They said, what about Flex Wheeler in 1998, or was it 99? When he lost to Ronnie Coleman, he took off his medal, he turned his back to the crowd, but he wasn't the Olympia winner. He was the runner-up. So this is the first time a reigning Mr. Olympia has expressed his displeasure, or you want to say lack of sportsmanship. Like I said, I don't think too many people are the powers that be. I think they would just like him to either post something or post a quick apology saying, I was overcome with emotion, I was very upset, disturbed, and I had to get off the stage, and I'm very sorry. I didn't mean to disrespect my fellow competitors or the audience or the fans at home. None of that. So, and all would be forgiven. They'd be like, all right, dude, that's cool. Just, don't do it again. So much for a close show. What are my thoughts on DECA? It's great. What do you want to? It's a steroid. It goes very well with either Test or Tren. Helps lubricate your joints if you have joint pain. It's a very basic steroid that's been around for about 60 years. No Looney Tune characters, Brandon. This isn't about Looney Tunes. This is not true. There's not Mannion and Weimer. There's 7 judges on that panel. What else? And I covering their ass for all the flactic. Kent, you really don't. Who do you? 5'4". Well, let's see. Who's the last taller Mr. Olympia we had? It's been a long time. I mean, before Rami was one of the taller guys. He's like 5'10". I know in the real world that's not considered tall. These days anything under 6 foot is considered short, I guess, because we live in a world where there's no more averages. It's extremes. You're either short or tall. You're either handsome or ugly, rich or poor. People don't seem to see any of the gray areas anymore. It's all one or the other. But I mean, the closest we came was Samson's about 6 foot. He was 3rd place. A lot of people have Samson pegged as a future Mr. Olympia. So stop the screen and go back. Yeah, I guess your best hope for a taller Mr. Olympia would be Samson. And, I think he's someone to watch. He's definitely capable of winning the Mr. Olympia in the future. I don't know if or when it's going to happen because you never know. But that would be your tattoo run. I have a bunch of tattoos. I don't know which one you mean. I don't have any Looney Tunes characters. So who would you rather be, Samson or Derek? I'd rather be Chris Bumstead. So there. How's that for an answer? Yeah, obviously, if I could be taller, I'd be taller, but whatever, you can't change your height. It's funny how people make fun of height when that's something you can't change. You can't make fun of people's weight anymore. You realize that you'll get canceled. The woke, the left, the liberals, they will kill you. They will have you crucified if you make fun of somebody, or if you even talk disparaging about someone's weight, when weight is in your control. Anybody, if they really want to, and if they're overweight, they can lose the weight. I can't be 6'4". There's nothing I can do to be 6'4". Maybe they'll break my femur 1,000 times and keep putting rods in it, but no. So that's why I don't like this. This is just another form of discrimination. When we talk about people's height, you're not going to talk about someone's religion. You're not going to talk about someone's, what else? Their race, but it's perfectly okay to talk shit about people based on their height. So not cool, dude. Not cool. Subscribe to hit the bell. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you. I can't well, sound like Mark. Here's one. Okay. Big Harold Poole fan. I agree Ronnie should have beaten Larry Scott. I have a copy of 60s Muscle Magazine. Poole on the cover doing incredible muscle. Yeah, I mean, like I said, there was tremendous amount of favoritism shown in the judging back in the old days. Old days. We're going way back. Before almost all of you watching this were probably born. And it was just based on who would sell the most magazines, who would sell the most supplements, who would sell the most benches and weight sets and all that stuff. I think Weider was the first man to put an African American on the cover of his magazine. It was Leroy Colbert from New York, who was supposedly the first guy with 20-inch arms. He did, they did break the barrier there with that, but there was still a lot of marketability favoritism geared toward good-looking white guys because they sold more product. They're going to make more money for you. Hadi has been stepping up his social media game since the Olympia. Let's go look at Hadi's. Let's take a look at Hadi's. Hadi Choopan. Okay. Yeah, let's take a look at his Instagram, shall we? While we're on I'm just curious because you're right. He wasn't doing a whole lot before with his social media. Let's take a look at what he's doing now. Okay, so let's go back to his Insta. Okay, that's a cool shot. That's him and Hani. Yep. Thank God it'll be most. What did he say about Hani? I'm just curious. Oh, it's Hani's birthday. I didn't know that. Hani Rambod. People are always mixing that up. It's Hadi and Hani. Hadi, Hani. Get it right, guys. Yeah. So that's his wife and his 3 children. I wasn't sure how many he had. Looks like it's 3. Great family back there in Iran. Hadi June. I don't know what that means. That's Shuri Cremona. That's Phil Heath's girlfriend. What else? Some training stuff there with Hadi. When was this posted? Oh, this was posted 15 hours ago. Yeah, so Hadi's already back at work, of course. This whole thing sets up a great rematch for next year. It's always cool when a champion gets dethroned because now you want to see, can they get it back? And that's a huge storyline. That's pure drama. That's like a movie plot. So, I mean, think of how exciting the Olympia is going to be next year. Now that we have a lot of people feeling like Hadi was robbed of the title, rightful winner who didn't get it, and they want to see him take out Derek and Samson, especially Derek. They're going to get their chance a year from now. And, it's not even a year away. It's next October. The Olympia is going to be in October next year. So, yeah, Hadi, great champion. I take nothing away from the guy. Look at that. It's about as much muscle as you can pack on a human frame. Just massive. Front lat, so wide. Maybe he is about. He says, I'm a sea shark and a wolf in desert, an eagle at the sky. I wounded, but I will hunt again. Yeah. Oh, he's got the emojis for all the animals. And look at that chest. Look at those striations all across the pecs. That is something else. Yeah. People think I'm a fanboy of Derek. I just happen to know Derek better. I posted a picture up of Derek when he won the Tampa Pro in 2017. And I said, let's keep this positive. I just want to congratulate Derek, and this is, he's come a long way. And people, I said any negative comments will be deleted. So people still put some negative comments on there. There was one guy in particular. So I deleted them, and he's like, "You're deleting my comments." I said, I told you I was going to delete your comments if they're negative. So why are you surprised? And then he even said to Scott Lunsford, Derek's father, who had said something, had commented on the post, says, "How'd he beat your son?" Something like that. So I blocked the guy. I unfriended him, and I don't think I blocked him. But then I got tagged in a post that says, "Ron Harris is unfriending all the people that think he's a Derek fan, but he's unfriending all the people that say that Hadi was robbed." I responded. I said, "I only unfriended one guy, you." So saying all the Ron's unfriending all, I only unfriended one person, dude, and it was you, because you did not respect what I said in the original post, in the caption. I'm keeping this positive, no negativity. I will delete all negative comments, and you couldn't freaking handle that. So piss off. This guy on the right is Hadi's translator. So he's a key. He is instrumental in press conference and any interviews that Hadi does. This guy, I can't remember what his name is, but he's doing a great job. So this was Hadi. When was this posted? 3 days ago. Keep it as a memory, right in the memory book. This wolf was wounded, is left silenced. Just wait for the comeback. See, he's psyched. He's going to be as good as he looked this year. I'm sure he's going to come back even better next year. Him and Derek have the same coach. He's the best coach in bodybuilding. I don't think you can argue that. He's got 25 Olympia wins now. 25 Olympia wins as a coach. Other guys can say, I got this many pro cards or this many pro titles. Olympia wins, that's a whole other level. So yeah, you can see Hadi's leg there. The right leg is not as big as the left. You can see it clearly here. So that's a symmetry issue, and that's something that they judge. I know you guys are going to say, well, you're just picking him apart because you want Derek to win. I'm super happy for Derek to win, believe me, because I know Derek. But it's not like I would have been upset. I wasn't upset last year when Hadi won, and I wouldn't have been upset this year if Hadi had won again. They were both very well deserving. Look at that side chest. I always want to see that full thick shelf of an upper chest. He's got that. Here he's going through the back shots. Tremendous lat width. You can see his lats are so wide, they almost come down almost at like a right angle to the, this is something else. Rear lat, rear double. Yeah. He's something else, man. He's something else. I'm just going to watch. I just want to finish all the poses. His hand on hip, most muscular. I call that the clasp, most muscular. I think that's one of his best shots. I like his crab, most muscular. Yeah, this one. That's a freaky shot for him. Okay, so that's that. I know. Just showing you guys I'm not a big just a Derek fanboy. I'm a fan of Hadi too. So here's Hadi with his translator in the blue shirt. That's Hani Rambod and his wife Farnaz behind him. And Hani and Farnaz's son Cameron with a K there. So these are all Hadi congratulated all the Olympia champions. You got Andrea Shaw, Sarah Villegas, Franciele Mato, Oksana Grishina, Jennifer Dory, Keon Pearson. I'm so sorry I can't recall the wheelchair Olympia gentleman's name. Derek Bumstead and Ryan Terry. So yeah, he congratulated everybody. I don't know what that says. More posing from Hadi. It's that pose over and over again. That's his best pose. I mean, he's got a lot of great poses, obviously, but that's my favorite. He's just so thick and dense and strided. I'm a big fan of that muscle maturity, the grainy, detailed look, and he is so grainy and dry and detailed in this shot. That's how a chest should look right there. Big fan. What else? That was the press conference. What else? He was doing some Smith front squats with 5 plates. Yeah. And yeah, it's a Smith machine, but you try it. Good luck. I never got 5 plates on a Smith machine squat. Did I? No. When I was that strong, I was using a barbell. We'll get out of this in a second. That's from last year. So he was posting this just before the recent Olympia. Yeah. See, there you can see, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but you can see his waist is thicker. He's a little shorter than Derek, and he does have a little thicker waist. I mean, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Oh, well, they went up to 6. Good Lord. Try to sneak one in. It's becoming like an Evogen ad today, isn't it? Persian Wolf. Well, when they ask you how many days before the competition, tell them 11 days. Oh, okay. Some more posing stuff. See, there's Derek and Hani trained to get Hadi, not Hani. Derek and Hadi. Oh my God, I did it again. Trained together. They were both in Dallas area at the Evogen gym. Hani has his company in Evogen is in the Dallas area now. He's got their warehouse as well as a private gym there. Nice setup. And these two, they have great camaraderie together. There's Hadi doing some 10,000. What are those, like 150s, I bet? I don't know. That's a lot of weight, whatever they are. They're both super strong guys. All right. I'm going to go back. I'm going to get out of that. I got to get back to your questions, guys. Okay. So let's see. Yeah, he has some good posts. He's posting a lot more now for sure. No free pass for Walker. Yeah. Either we get rid of, I say we, it's not up to you and me, guys. It's up to the Olympia committee. It's up to Jim Mannion. It's up to Jake Wood. It's up to Dan Solomon. Either we get rid of the whole special invitation process where we don't have, nobody ever gets special invitations anymore, or you have to look at next year, because they're not giving Nick Walker an invitation now. If it happens, the invitation will probably be extended to him, I don't know, like next summer, like June, July, August. I would hope no later than that if the show's in October. But yeah, that was a whole other video I did. You do have tattoo? Yeah, I mean, I got a bunch of tattoos, so this crappy arm of mine is all. I got a full sleeve on that arm. Yeah, I got a bunch of tattoos. Not as many as some people. Yeah, Hadi's shoulders are not as bad. Definitely not as bad. He stopped whatever he was putting in there. He slowed down tremendously because he got a lot of heat for it. The one thing I wish he had was a posing routine. He did not have a posing routine. Did it come down to that? It didn't help when the show was that close. When it's that close, maybe posing in the back of the judge's mind comes into it, where he say, well, Derek put time and effort into putting a posing routine together. Hadi did not. Same music as last year. It was like a guest posing. He just went from one end of the stage to the other, back and forth, hit basically the same 3 poses over and over again, and didn't even hit any back shots. I wonder, we got that on here somewhere? Posing routine. 2022 Olympia. We don't want that. We want 2023 Olympia. Let's see if we have it somewhere. Oh, HD posing. Okay. Well, it's 4K footage. Okay. Fair enough. 2023. Hang on. So let's present that one. Share screen. Doop. And let's hit play. Okay. Yeah, so there's Hadi posing. Yeah, I think his arms in the front double. I'm more impressed with his arms than I am Derek in that shot, to be honest with you. There's more separation. There's a little more peak to the bicep. They're both phenomenal guys. They really are. They're both incredible athletes, but okay. Well, I hit more than 3 poses, so I take it back. I'm wrong all the time, guys. Jose calls me Wrong Harris. So, wasn't surprised Hadi leaving the stage, to be honest. Yeah, I still agree he shouldn't have done it, but I totally understand. And looking at, as we looked at earlier, he was on stage for quite a while before he walked off. It wasn't like he got announced second and immediately stormed off stage. He didn't flip anybody off. There were no emotional outbursts like that. There were no overt signs of disrespect shown, nothing like that. He stuck around for almost everything. They just wanted one more picture, but he just couldn't stand it anymore. You changed my mind, but Ron, I agree. Oh, good. Yeah. Was that about the height thing? I can't remember what that was about. No, that was a different guy. Yeah, don't suspend him. I mean, come on. Suspend him what, for a year, and then he can't do the Olympia next year? He's only going to do the Olympia again. So, all right, stop screen. Yeah, I mean, what are you going to suspend him so he misses the one show? Everybody wants to see him back again. We want to see the rematch. We want to see that battle between Derek and Hadi. There's going to be so much more anticipation about this year's Olympia. I mean, last year's Olympia was exciting because we had Derek was moving up from 212. He got the special invitation. Rami was still in it, but we thought Rami was going to win a third time. But this is going to be this next Olympia is going to be a lot more dramatic because we already have the big rematch set. We know exactly what it's going to come down to. I fully expect it to come down to those two guys again, unless Samson Dauda levels up his condition a lot and just blows them off the stage, or Andrew Jack improves significantly between now and then. Nick Walker could come back next year. That's going to be another huge storyline because he had to miss this show, and he was looking phenomenal. It's going to be I believe it's going to be much more exciting Olympia next year because of the things that setting it up right now are already making it more dramatic. Let's see. So, man, well, we can't imagine what it's like to be top one, then losing the title. There's a lot of pressure and they're competing at a very high level. Yeah, I mean, I'm not coming down on the guy. I'm not coming down on the guy for doing what he did. I'm sure there's so much pressure on him to keep that title, and he wanted it. He was proud to be Mr. Olympia. He was proud to represent Iran, his family, a whole culture, really, a whole Middle Eastern culture is behind him. He's got fans all over the world and all over the USA too. That's another thing is a lot of people say, well, all the Americans wanted Hadi. No, a lot of the people that are upset about Hadi losing are the Americans too. It's not like it was split exactly down national lines or anything like that. It really wasn't. Hadi's deaf, by the way. Yeah, he is. I don't think we can say deaf. I think you have to say hearing impaired now. He is. However, he knew he was supposed to stay on stage. He knew that they were asking for one more pose. It's not like he didn't know what was going on. This was like his fifth Olympia, 2019, 20, 21, 22. This was his fifth Olympia, so he knows exactly the format. He's been in many pro shows. He knows that he was supposed to stay. So let's not give him that excuse. We need to be talking about more as a terrible comments from fans toward Derek and the ones Flex received when he beat Hadi at that show overseas. I forget the name. I can't remember if it was Korea or Japan a few years ago. It was a post-Olympia show, and Flex Lewis beat him. And supposedly backstage, Hadi was so upset. He was headbutting the wall. He was punching the wall. And I believe he accidentally, I don't think he meant to do it, he accidentally punched Ryan Terry, the guy who just won the men's physique Olympia. He hit Ryan's girlfriend. I'm pretty sure, I'm almost certain it was I don't think Hadi would hit a woman backstage, especially if it had nothing to do with the decision. But yeah, there's no place for threatening people, threatening athletes, threatening their families. I don't care who you are. And again, it seems to be, the Hadi fan. Let me go back to the Hadi fans. So after that show, immediately after, Flex Lewis started getting death threats and threats of violence toward himself, toward his family. It was awful. I remember one thing was someone had threatened to cut his feet off. And, and this time Derek was getting threats. They were threatening to harm or kill his wife, his unborn child. It's awful. You don't do that, guys. That is way, way, way beyond, way crossing the line. So that was disgusting to see that. Derek didn't choose to win. The judges made that call. Not that you should be threatening the judges either, but to blame the athlete and to be upset at the athlete who beat your favorite guy to the point where you're threatening violence or death. So wrong. So wrong. Not cool. Let's see. That is STH. I guess you mean shit. We can't change. It's bad. Yeah. I know that other sports get fanatical too. Soccer hooligans, football hooligans, whatever, been a thing for decades and decades, where there's brutal fights and riots and cars being turned over and things being set on fire. People get very passionate, very emotional about sports, and even bodybuilding. It can sometimes go that way, but to the point where it's threatening people's lives and threats of violence. There's that doesn't belong in bodybuilding. Oof. if it's all about package, so we should call this Miss Olympia contest, not Mr. Olympia. Everything gone now with aesthetics. Well, I mean, aesthetically, Samson Dauda was better than both Hadi and Derek. Didn't have the condition to beat them, but if you want to look at overall structure, shape, proportions, you know, the guy's 6 foot tall, 300 pounds with a tiny little waist, round, bubbly muscles. If it was all about aesthetics, Samson would have been Mr. Olympia. The judging needs to be more, what are you going to do? I guess, you know, if you really want to make it, if you really want to get to that level of transparency, the score sheets would have to have every pose, and you'd have to score all the athletes first through, we had 17 guys, first through 17th in every pose. You could do that. You would have to sit there for a long time while the judges figured that out. I'm not defending it, but they got the show done much, much quicker this year, which I was super happy about. I think everybody was happy about that. The athletes didn't have to wait around backstage as long. The people at home didn't have to stay up as late, especially if you're over in Europe or something, which is anywhere from 5 to 7 or 8 hours ahead of East Coast time here in the U.S. You didn't have to stay up till 4 or 5 in the morning like you did last year when it was in Las Vegas and ran super late. So anything that's going to make the judging take a lot longer, I'm going to have to say no to, just because the show has to go. We have so many divisions to get through, so many athletes. We got to keep it moving, and we don't have time to do that. Unfortunately, if it was just a Mr. Olympia contest like it was in years past, many years ago, I don't know how many you realize this, because before there was, in the years where there were only 2 divisions, Mr. Olympia and Ms. Olympia, there was nothing but bodybuilding. There was a Mr. Olympia contest held somewhere, and then totally different city, usually a totally different month, the Ms. Olympia would be held. So if it was just a Mr. Olympia, we could spend more time on the judging because that's all that people are there for. But now we have 6 women's divisions and 5 men's divisions to get through. So there's just no time. Do you think Samson will reach the level of dryness and conditioning he needs to win the Mr. Olympia with Milos? Does he need Matt Jansen? I don't know why you think Matt could do it for him and Milos couldn't. I mean, there's this weird idea that Milos doesn't get people in shape. Well, look at this guy, Behruz Tabani, who won the Romania Muscle Fest last year. He's from Iran, just like Hadi. He's doing it again Sunday. His condition at that show last year when he won was, and I think it was the Arnold Brazil, Arnold South America he was also in. Phenomenal conditioning, super dry. I don't think it's a matter of Milos not being able to do it. I just don't know if Samson is capable of achieving that look. I don't know. I hope he is, because I think it would take his physique to that next level where he could be Mr. Olympia. He's already won the Arnold Classic. He's going to do the next one in March. I don't know if he's capable of it. I hope so, because I think I'm a big fan of his physique. I like him as a person. I would hate to see that hold him back from going all the way to the top, if that's the one thing that would keep him from getting there. You have classic 212 for shape, open carries, and about stacks or V-taper. I mean, who else do we have in that show? So who was it? I'm just trying to look at the list of competitors to see if there's anyone who was just huge but didn't have great shape at all. Hassan Mustafa doesn't have the best structure and shape, but he's loaded with muscle and he was in great condition. I don't really see anybody else who I would. I mean, if that's the only criteria is just being huge and ripped, then like you could add someone like the late Greg Kovacs be Mr. Olympia. He was huge, shredded, horrible structure, horrible shape, terrible proportions for pro bodybuilding, but boy, was he big and he got lean. He could get lean when I think Chad coached him. Bob said Derek beat Hadi on ab and thigh pose because he was small waist. It was close, but I get that pose to Hadi easily. Like I said, guys, we could debate, and people will. This debate's probably going to go on for another month or so. I'm guessing, because this is our Super Bowl. We don't have anything else to really talk about. We got a couple post-Olympia shows, and we get the Arnold Classic coming up, not till the beginning of March. So we're going to be talking about the Olympia for a little while longer, I'm sure. Yeah, you could argue that one. You could argue that post. It's never been fair. I agree, Mark. If the people who don't think it's fair, I wish you guys had been around and followed the sport like 20, 30, 40 years ago. You would see how things are so much more fair and impartial now. So much better. things used to be influenced by, I believe, by the color of your skin, what supplement company you were sponsored by, things like that. Who friends with judges, there were things like that came into play many times in the distant past. They don't anymore. I don't believe they do anymore. Yeah, 2007 was a controversial show that was when Victor Martinez, a lot of people had him beating Jay Cutler handily, but at the end of the night, Jay held on to the title. Mr. Olympia level, sometimes looking flat in the front. No abs, no obliques, you mean? Sure, better than the average on discrimination. Yeah, but I mean, why is it going to be about height? Why? I mean, we have plenty of sports for tall guys. All of the sports, football, baseball, hockey, basketball. My goodness, did I say basketball? I don't think the Mr. Olympia should be about height. We've had Mr. Olympias as tall as 6'1" or 6'2" in Arnold. We've had them as short as Franco Columbu was 5'4", and I don't think Hadi's that much taller than Franco was. It's about the physique. That's why we have 212. Well, I mean, we see that people can outgrow the 212 if they have more muscle mass than that weight will dictate. Hadi, I think, did a couple 212. Yeah, Hadi did 212 shows, but he's probably more like 235, 240 now. Same with Derek. Derek was 212 Olympia champ. He's probably closer to 240 now. So to make them go down to 212, they'd have to lose a lot of muscle. Is that discrimination? Derek has 2,500 posts on IG. Hadi has 250. Well, that's a big difference. So he has 10 times more, 100 times more. Wow. Do Hadi had any athlete from zero, like from never competing? He used to work with all kinds of amateurs when he had more time on his hands. Now that he's got his own supplement company he's running, he doesn't coach that many people anymore, and he's not going to coach just anybody. He's going to work with the very top people. Wouldn't you? If you could choose, if you're a coach and you could choose to work with anybody you wanted to, wouldn't you work with the people who could win Olympias and stuff? I would, just being real. But no, I don't think he's taking people from like never touched a weight. Is that what you mean? He did turn a lot of people pro. That's why they called him the pro creator. That was the name of the column in MD that he had for over a decade that I worked with him on. It was called the pro creator because he turned a ton of people pro at the USA, the Nationals, North American, the Universe. Oh, wait, you did explain it. In his whole career. Oh, yeah. Back in the day, Hadi worked with all kinds of amateurs back in the day. He used to coach a lot more people when he had time to. He doesn't have time. Now he's got the company. He's got a son. So no. Hadi probably won't win as many Olympia titles as Siba Mazian did. Well, Hani's already got 2 titles with him. If that's the case, it's probably because Chris might retire before. So let's see. So Ian got 3 wins for him, and then he switched over to Hadi, and they have 2 now. So he really just needs to win 1 more next year, and they're tied. And then if Chris continues and is still able to hold on the title, he'll get him past that. Unfortunately, once your waist is thicker, that's usually it. I haven't seen too many guys. I'm trying to think of one who went from a thicker waist to a smaller waist, because it's your organs have grown, your abs, your obliques, it's everything in that midsection has grown thicker. You have a thicker core. I don't know. And he loves training super heavy. I don't see it's possible for him to bring it down. Maybe it is. I'm not saying it's impossible. I think it's highly unlikely that he's going to be able to get his waist smaller. If he can get, and I don't know how much wider. He's already so wide. He's already got the lats out to here, shoulders out to here. Condition he can improve on. Maybe he can get that disparity between the quad sweeps so they're symmetrical. Maybe he could fix that. There's not much he didn't do much wrong. I mean, he looked fantastic. I thought he brought it. Do you always want a special invite for the Mr. Olympia? As Megan don't see him coming back. Well, like this year they didn't do one. It's up to their discretion. People like Kai Green have been extended invites several times. He never ended up on stage. Flex Lewis had a special invite. He didn't end up making it. This year there was no special invitation. It's something that it's just a tradition where they keep it in their back pocket and they can bring it out and use it when they want to or not use it. They don't have to give anyone a special invitation. And I'm pretty sure if they really wanted to, they could give like 2. They they can do whatever they want. It's not anything that's like in a rule book. Yeah, and I was there, but I hate to say this because I'm so distracted. I'm trying to watch the stage, but I got multiple people in my coverage team messaging me. My phone, the notifications are going out of control the whole time I'm sitting there. So I'm distracted, but I thought he had left sooner. Now that I investigated, Hadi did not leave until he really should have just stayed up there another 20 seconds for them to get one more picture. All would have been good. And then he could have just said, all right, peace out, everybody. Because then Bob would have said, all right, now just Derek. And everybody would have walked off. He really just left like 20 or 30 seconds too soon, sooner than he should have. He just should have stuck it out. But, we don't know what was going through his head and his emotional state. I'm sure he was very, very upset. I don't like either Derek or Hadi, so I have no comment. I remember the career show that reflects one over Hadi. C-Bum and Ryan. Yeah, someone said, would you pick, whose body would you pick? Would it be Hadi or Derek or Samson? Bumstead all day. I'd rather look like Bumstead. Ali versus Frazier rematches. Yeah, rematches are very exciting. If they get the fans whipped into a frenzy. So I'm all set. It's a business matter and then race, of course. Ron, stop. Belarus has always been shredded. Well, that's what I'm saying. If Milos was ruining people's condition, he would have ruined Belarus's condition, and he didn't. So if he was using the same protocol and overcarbing and insulin, all that, then he would have messed up Belarus's condition, and we don't see that. Belarus, I guess we'll see Sunday at the Romania show, but last year when he was working with Milos, the shows that he won last year or did well at, condition was just as good as ever. So some people can't handle it. Some people can, as far as the extra carbs. Larry Wheels. Will I see him on the Olympia stage soon? He didn't turn pro yet. He looks really good. Don't get me wrong. But those of you who were at the show, or even if you were familiar with, there were 39 guys. So there are 39 classic physique competitors in this last Olympia. I think Larry's not at that level. He would need to turn pro. Then he needs to win a pro show. I don't know if he's capable of that. He's very talented. He can do so many things. Powerlifting. Wasn't he trying to do strongman, arm wrestling? He's tries his hand at all these things, and he's pretty good at everything. He's like a natural athlete. He's got really good genetics. Does he have the genetics of these guys that are on the Olympia stage? No, I don't think so. That's just my opinion. You can be a fan of the guy, and obviously he's making a shit ton of money. He's got millions and millions of fans because people love it when you're strong and you have physique. That's like the magic mix, like Ronnie Coleman had. He was enormous. He was huge, and he was super strong. People love to see that. But I don't think we're going to see him on the Olympia stage. You can prove me wrong. I love it. What's that? Wolf started winning when he started to learn to pose better back inside on the mules. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Wolf was 2007. I think that's the year he was third at the Olympia. So, to say Milos ruined his physique or something, no. People will pick up part one show. And Mark's coming back at him. Wolf said so himself. It wasn't peeled. Well, I mean, he looked great. He looked great at both shows. He was fuller at the 2007. That's the year he got third place. He must have looked pretty damn good. Shrimp rock look. Oh, Wolf has to be carb loaded, dry, hard to accomplish his size, and the genetics for his triceps just compete with Heath. Yeah. I mean, very few people could beat Heath, obviously. Yeah, you're right. Okay, the Beast Kane. Rolly's one guy who did make his waist smaller. I think the key for him was he came down a little bit in size and body weight. Didn't go for that big blown up fullness, the real full round look. And he looked better for it. I don't know if Hadi, he's a shorter guy. I don't see him downsizing. I don't see him intentionally downsizing. I don't know. I don't like to write anybody off or say they can't do this, they can't do that. So we'll see. Maybe he can get his waist smaller. We'll see. It's going to be very interesting. God, we're arguing so much about Wolf now. Regan was sharp in the best shape ever. Yeah. People get in their heads that this coach sucks, and they try to find every example they can to pinpoint that, and they'll gloss over all the triumphs that that coach has had, all the great things that that coach has done with other athletes. You know, people are very selective with what they present. What's that called? Confirmation bias. They only want to present information that proves their opinion or theory, and they like to totally discount anything that doesn't. So that's just human nature, man. Very aggressive carb up. You're sweating like a buffalo. The kitchen Derek Hadi was no. Well, we've yet to see Samson in that shape. I'm waiting. Jesus Christ, reptilian. Regan from the back, sharper than Hadi. Hams, glutes, and backward condition. Yeah, if he was sharper than Hadi. JR, you'd have to go back. We've been talking for well over an hour. Jeez, I got to get off this thing. We live here too? What the heck? Humans? What? Talking about reptilians? So they're progressives. All right, guys. Wow, we've been talking a very long time. If you're not watching this live, I thank everyone that joined us on the live chat. But if you're not, go back and rewind. We had a lot. We went all over the place with this one, so it's worth checking out. But that's it for today, guys. Have an awesome weekend. Please subscribe to the channel, like, share. If you like the video, hit that thumbs up. Share it on your social media platforms. Subscribe to the channel. Of course, turn notifications on YouTube and on your phone. All kinds of cool stuff. So that's it, man. Thanks for joining us today. Have an excellent weekend, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.